Okay, this will be a pretty quick video. I'm just going to talk about anger a little bit. So, when we get angry at somebody, it's usually because they're behaving in a way that we don't approve of, right? Maybe their behaviors are harmful to you, or directly or indirectly. Maybe they verbally attacked you. Maybe they verbally attacked somebody else. Maybe they physically attacked somebody or attacked you. Now, what happens though when we respond with anger is that these people who are behaving in a way we don't approve of, they're going to end up digging deeper into their behaviors. They're going to get defensive, right? If you allow their behaviors to make you behave in the same way they do, and if you allow their behaviors to make you behave in a way they don't approve of, then you're just going to enter this vicious cycle of perhaps increasing anger. And you're never going to reach the real problem. You're never going to solve the problem. And again, that's because anger, it just escalates things. It doesn't try to get at the catalyst. So instead of getting angry at people, make an assumption instead. Don't assume that the unfavorable behaviors are the person's fault, but instead make the assumption that whatever behaviors you may see in the world, make the assumption that they are perfect, in that they perfectly reflect the environment that any given person was born into. So if somebody's behaving poorly, maybe they're just responding to their environment, right? So in other words, what we're doing here is we're empathizing with a person's situation. Okay, we're trying to understand why they're behaving the way they are, instead of just assuming it's their fault. Okay, so don't make the assumption that their behaviors are a result of their choices, but make the assumption that their choices are a response to their environment. Okay, again, you're empathizing with the situation they're in. So if you do this, if you seek to understand where they're coming from, if you try to walk in their shoes per se, right, then you're going to find a better solution, okay, that can help change those behaviors. Rather than blaming them for them, try to change their environment. And in doing so, you're also going to change your environment. So if you change their environment and they start acting more favorably, then what you're going to do is you're going to see that you're going to become less angry, and you're going to act more favorably in their mind and in your own mind, right? When we use these negative emotions like anger and fear to allow to control our behaviors, we enter these vicious cycles again, and they just make the problem worse. It's a pattern that you have to look for everywhere you see it. Okay, anytime you see somebody responding angrily, anytime you see somebody verbally attacking somebody in a non-friendly way, or in a way that is perhaps harming somebody else, or making them feel bad about themselves, it's not a good thing. Okay, and it's not helping you. Even if there's there's a line between comedy and actual verbal attacks, right? And there's some level of constructive criticism, but that constructive criticism needs to be constructive. It can't be overly overly intrusive, right? You don't want to make someone feel bad about themselves. You want to teach them to forgive themselves and to forgive others in order to, well, make the world a better place. Again, if we follow our anger and we follow our fear, it doesn't make the world a better place. It just drags us all down. Okay, so if you find yourself responding with anger to other people, you're not helping your own situation. You're going to end up making your own situation. You're going to end up basically manifesting more anger into your own mind in the long run, and you don't want that. So instead, empathize with the opposition and make them not your opposition. That's the thing. Like, if we assume that somebody's behaving unfavorably, and we make them our opposition, you've made an enemy. When instead you could have made a friend. You could have tried to help them in their situation. And what that does, again, is it helps them behave more favorably, and by extension, you are not going to get angry at them. You're not going to be tempted to get angry at them even. And it's that temptation, right? That's where we draw the line. That's where you have to recognize consciously when you make these decisions between anger and empathy. You need to recognize that temptation and throw that temptation aside. Okay, you need to get a hold of it. I used to be a person that did get angry at people when I saw them behaving unfavorably, when I saw them behaving in ways that were less than satisfactory in my mind. And then I started to see my own behaviors and how perhaps those same people that I thought were behaving unfavorably looked at me as the unfavorable person, right? As the person behaving unfavorably. It's like this dynamic between oppositions. It doesn't help. It doesn't help make the situation better for anybody. What we can do instead is, empathize. I talk about empathy a lot. It's a very important thing, and I think the world is a little bit. I think empathy is a little too scarce today. I think we like to, especially online in social media, in regular media, we like to, there'll be a school shooting, and we'll be empathetic for a day, for a week, and then what happens? We go back to our regular media stream of just attacking people, and that's particularly true in the mainstream media. But it also happens in social media. Now, the thing about social media is that there are good role models in social media, but there's also a lot of bad ones. If you pick the right role models, you're going to be on a solid path to controlling your emotions, and it's important to do that. Okay, so if you find yourself getting angry, realize that if you find yourself getting angry at other people, realize that it's not their fault. Okay, and if you look at it through this lens, then you can empathize with them. If somebody's not behaving in a way you see fit, then ask yourself why they may be behaving that way. Maybe there's a good reason for it, and if you try to address that reason rather than just addressing the individual, blaming the individual, then we can solve the problems, and we can all collectively behave in a way we all approve of. Now, that's not to say we can't have individuality, but the thing is that individuality is it's kind of separate from good and bad behaviors. It's not that a lot of individuality is going to cause a lot of misbehavior. It's more that it's more about how we accept the individuality. If we don't accept the individuality, then again, you're responding with anger, and then anger leads to more anger, and in all likelihood, it's going to lead to more individuality. So you're going to need to accept that people are individuals, and as far as I can tell, it's like if they're not hurting you directly, physically, then the old adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That if words are hurting you, hurting your feelings, then you need to realize that the person who's attacking you verbally is probably hurting themselves. That's probably some old Freudian psychology, and I guarantee there's more truth to that than some may believe. It's like if you find yourself blaming other people all the time for all of the problems in the world, then you're not seeing why they behave in the way they do, and you're not addressing the source of the problem. And in all likelihood, if you don't address the source of any problem, no matter what it is, if you got a leak in your roof and you're just putting a bucket under the leak, the hole's probably going to get bigger over time, right? And it's that kind of concept that applies to our emotions too. If we allow anger and fear to control us, problems are only going to get worse. So thanks for watching.